Okay, that's better. Okay, so this is the third and final installment of reviewing the course syllabus. Okay, as I mentioned, I have until February 6th to drop a student, and then you, as a student, have until February 14th to drop the class without a W. All right. So make sure that you pay attention to these dates. All right. Just to sort of give you a heads up or a warning. Um, if and when you decide to apply to a graduate program, you're going to submit your transcript, your official, first unofficial, then eventually your official transcripts to that department or program. And one of the things that they're going to do is not only look at your grades, what they're also going to do is that they're going to look at the courses that you've taken and see if you withdrew from any of those courses. All right. And the way that they could tell is that you have a W, which means withdrawal. And if a student has a lot of withdrawals, and a lot could be like two or three or four, right? That department will look at that student and consider that student an unreliable potential candidate. And they're just going to put your application in the round filing cabinet, meaning the trash can. So you want to make sure that you're able to either reduce or limit the W's on your transcript, or try to avoid them as much as you can, or take those courses over again. Right. Again, as I mentioned earlier, or in the first video that I made, um, you professors look at a student's writing. It sort of gives the professor an indication of the type of intellectual and thinker that you are. If you're not able to clearly convey your ideas in written word, um, your your position sort of in the course in that particular class is not gonna be very high. All right, so these are things that you need to be aware of. And again, I'm not sure if prior professors have ever shared this type of information with you, but if they haven't, these are things that you really need to contemplate and consider in how you're going to move forward with that information. Okay. And then from that, then I also have the dates when the final proposal and the research presentation are going to be due, which is at the end of the semester on May 16th. All right. So what I'm going to do is just going to briefly go over the syllabus in terms of the content. All right. So this is what you did this week. Looking at syntax, language, ideology, subjectivity, sort of looking at how you relate to writing, but also having you look at your time management for this type of class, right? And then I also included the icebreaker for the module this week. Or yeah, this weekend when I post on Canvas, I'm going to include or look at society, vision, language, and social understanding, and especially with wait, let me sorry, go back with Maurice Merleau-Ponty in a book that or a chapter from a book that he wrote, The Invisible Visible, and the chapter I'm having you look at is a reflection and interrogation, and he's just basically arguing that we really need to learn how to see things, right? I'm not sure if any of you have ever taken a child development course. And one of the things that you learn in a child development course is, Freud, Erikson, and Piaget, just to name a few major contributors to understanding the theory of child development from a Western perspective, right? So then, like Freud, Piaget, and Erikson argue that part of the growing up or the rearing of a child is that they learn skills by observing. Right, so a child is socialized how to speak and how to communicate and how to walk and all these other things. Part of it is the natural development of a child as their brain develops over time, but then the other component to that is observation and mimicking and seeing what adults and other kids are doing. So then Merleau-Ponty argues that not only must we be socialized in how we speak, we also must recognize how we are socialized in how we see. Right. Just to give you a recent example, on Sunday or Monday, Elon Musk gave what some people would say is the Nazi salute. And then other people would say, no, that is the Roman salute. Right. And for those who don't know history, all right, and this is my understanding. I'm not an expert in Roman society, but there is no such thing as a Roman salute. Right. And from my understanding, and if I recall from my art history course as an undergrad at UC Santa Barbara, that there was a particular painting that was done in Europe, like in the 17th century. So that's around like the 1600s, where this painter drew a scene of Roman soldiers, and they had their hands up, sort of at a 40-degree angle that looked like a Zig Heil, right, or the Nazi salute that Elon Musk did. And they'll say, well, see, that's evidence that the Roman salute is real, but it's not. It's the imagination of the artist who imagined. And what they were doing is that they were just showing that, if I remember correctly, they were reaching out for three swords because it was three Roman soldiers, and that's taken out of context, right? So because that's part of the socialization, right? And the definitive test is that neo Nazis themselves said, like Nick Fuentes, that's the Zig Heil. That is Heil Hitler. And he started doing it on his little podcast on YouTube. Right. So then that's what is meant, or that is what Merleau-Ponty means, is that we need to learn how to observe or see things, right, and understand the context. Right. So that's just like a quick summary of the chapter. And then the next chapter you're going to read is by Fernand de Saussure, and in his course in general linguistics, is looking at how language shapes our understanding of reality and how we tend to think more or less. But that comes out later on, um, where he explores the relationship between society and language, right? And how that there is a connection, and it's literally called sociolinguistics, right? Um, so the idea of social linguistics, and this is coming from de Saussure and other social linguists since his time period, is that there is a type of connection or relationship between how language is used and how it relates to society, and how that language is used shapes the perception of that society or situation, right? So but then this is the foundation of writing: what we see and what we say, right, both verbally as well as written, right? So like that's sort of the thing that I want to highlight, just focusing on those two writers at the moment, which I'm going to be posting on onto Canvas this weekend. And then you're going to be looking at like developing critical thinking and identifying this thing of ethical thinking by Paul and Elder, and then looking at learning about sociological inquiries and who's your audience. And then these are, so the Richard and Paul are the textbooks, and then the Wayne and Booth is the other textbook, right? Oh, and then like de Saussure and Merleau-Ponty, I'm going to provide those readings for you on the Canvas shell, which I will post this weekend. um so then looking at developing critical thinking skills like ethical thinking, then learning about sociological inquiries and who's your audience. You're going to look at Elder and Paul and Booth, and then and then prepping for editing. So you're going to, the text that you're going to use is this one, as well as I will also include recommended sources and provide you links to those sources as you go through the editing process. All right, but you're going to be using the text to help you edit. All right, and then here on February 25th, editing week 2. So then, yeah, so this is like the work that I mentioned earlier, and I try to give you at least some time. I forgot, I didn't catch this, so I'll fix this tomorrow. All right, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so then I'll have you submit your work for me to be able to hide your personal information and then provide a some type of code or number code. Maybe by the fourth week of the semester, so then I could have it done and ready for you, and send you the essay on the 25th, and then you're going to be working on it that week and whatnot. Okay, and then once you're done with that, then you're going to go back to the beginning of the research process, and then I will provide you the text from Howard Becker on persona and authority, looking at ship your real research and type of academic writing by again Booth and Becker, about this idea of imaginary and Becker's writing on terrorized by the literature, and starting a conversation with the existing literature. Then we of course spring break, and then I'm not going to post anything for this week. So then if you fell behind, this would be a good opportunity for you to. Oh, I just saw this. I'll change that too. Sorry about those typos. I thought I caught them all before. But then going back to spring break, you could use the spring break to help you catch up on any missing or late work, or for the modules and whatnot. And then you're going to have learning academic argumentation, making sure that you make good arguments and how you organize your arguments, or creating an outline for your argument, as well as creating an outline for the overall structure of your paper. Okay. And then effectively supporting your claims, because one of the biggest criticisms that I've always given to students since I've been teaching is students not using evidence to support their claims, and not showing how the evidence relates to the claim, and how you're making the warrant or the justification for that relationship. Right. But and again, it's just making sure that you are meticulous as possible and be detailed oriented to be able to effectively convey your ideas to your reader. And then from effectively supporting your claims, then the on April 22nd, you're going to read and look at how to make sense of it all, like how to make sense of your argument and your thesis and your evidence, and how you write and how you put it together into a cohesive argument, and show the brilliance to your reader of how well you're able to convey your ideas to them. Okay, because one of the points is just this is just to help you prepare towards the end of the semester. And I will provide the criteria. Well, I would say, like, to get an A paper for, or to get an A for like the final research product or the research proposal or the product, is that it has to have at least 10 mistakes or less. A B would be like 15 mistakes or less. A C would be 20 mistakes or less. And writing errors like punctuation and also my typos, as I mentioned before, we all need to make better, or much more careful assessments of our own writing. All right, so yeah, I do apologize for those typos, but that's sort of the way that I go about doing that. All right, is just to help you get ready for it. Okay. And then once you're done with making sense of it all, making connections and moving forward in terms of like, again, making connections and demonstrating to your reader how you're able to make those connections, right? um oh man, this is terrible, I'm sorry. And then what I also include is at the end of the semester for us, or the sorry, I'm trying to remember the name. The last day of official instruction is going to be May 10th, which is a Friday. And then on May 11th, that's when finals weeks begins. Right. So then that entire week, the following week, I won't post any modules. And then you're just going to write, working on the final draft and your final recorded presentation. Right. And that's pretty much the end of the semester. Oh, and then this is like Canvas on Friday, May 16th, 2025 is your paper is going to be due. All right, so you're going to submit your paper to me on the very last day of finals week. And then I have to submit grades. I think either the 19th or 20th of May. So I have like a couple of days. So then I'll use that weekend and that Monday because then I submit your grades that Tuesday of the following week. Okay. All right. So hopefully this all makes sense. And again, I do apologize for the typos, but I will fix those tomorrow. All right. And repost the syllabus on Canvas tomorrow as well. And then just to sort of show you, I also included like some examples of what ASA citation style looks like. So this is the edition of the book that I used. And then lastly, I also had this code of conduct. So you're to read this and then sign your name, write your name, print your name, and sign your name stating that you're going to be a responsible university student where you're going to take the necessary notes and work and make sure that you're able to follow through with the course and the coursework. All right. So this is how I hold you accountable, but it's also a way for you to keep me accountable to you. All right. So hopefully the video helps you go through the syllabus and sort of understand what the expectations are. But as I mentioned earlier, you could definitely ask me any questions and email them to me, but make sure that you follow the structure that I provided in the video in terms of how to format and send the emails to me. Or when I post this weekend my virtual office hours, you can stop by on Wednesday between 11:30 and 1:30 to ask any points of clarification or just talk about grad school or whatever you want to speak about. Okay. So I'm going to stop it now, and I will post the second module this weekend. And as I mentioned, I'm going to make it a much more concerted effort to post the modules on Tuesday. Okay. So I hope you have a good evening, and I hope you have a good weekend. Bye.